welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to give you a tutorial on all of my layers. Inside of my last tutorial video, I taught you how to make videos like me. However, I didn't teach you guys anything about all of the layers that I use inside of my series, What If Civilization Started Over. I believe this is the episode 10, maybe the episode 11 map, so make sure you've seen those if you don't want spoilers. But let's get straight into it. First of all, this background hurts my eyes, so we're going to add a new layer called background, and when we click on it, it's going to be plain white. By the way, inside of this program, it's paint.net, so you're going to have to go watch my other video. I'll put it up right here inside of the card on the top right corner. You're going to have to go watch that to figure out how to download it. But to add and remove layers, you can go through here. You press Control-Shift-N to add a new layer, Control-Shift-Delete to delete a layer, Control-Shift-D to duplicate a layer, and then there's much more things that you can do to figure out how to use them. But also, if you want to edit a certain layer, make sure that it's the highlighted one. So right now, I'm able to edit background. However, if I want to go edit lands, I can click on that one, and I'll be editing that now. And to have it show, you're going to click this check mark. But here we are with our nice looking background here. It's plain white and it looks pretty good. All you have to do is, well, when you add this, it's just going to be blank. But you're going to click fill. You're going to click F and get to the fill feature. And you're going to select white, this little white thing in the bottom left corner, and you are going to fill this thing with white. Next up, this is optional, but you can move on to waters, and as you can see, this one is a little bit broken, in fact. Let me fix that really quickly. So here we are, that is fixed now. The next one up is navy, and this might look a little bit confusing on how you do it. I'll go back into this once I show off land. But the next one is flooded land. This is only for me just because, you know, there's land that has been flooded. And since the floods recede, like how we've seen it over here in India, since the floods recede, I saved it as a layer, so that way I can go back and return to what I need whenever I want to. As you can see, some stuff is outdated, so you see Lime, Mesopotamia is right there. This is owned, this France is right here, and then much, much more. Anyway, turning that off because it's also kind of irrelevant right now, we're going to see land. This is our main base layer, and this is our land. Once again, spoilers. But when you're recording, you're probably always going to have land on, and now that we have land, let me show you Navy. So I'm going to be redoing the Navy here soon, so let me actually redo it right now. So before, I had the opacity of this layer at, you know, just 255, and when I drew, I would use, like, a lighter kind of thing where I had the opacity down, but instead, I'm going to change it, and I'll have maximum opacity. However, I'll go over to the layer, I'll double-click on it, and change the opacity down a little bit. 117, I'll go with 127, I'm pretty sure that's the midpoint, but now we can go draw on it. So I'm obviously not going to do it on this one because it's an outdated map, but this is a bit of what you do. So you're going to go over to land, you're going to select one, so this is Rome right here, and I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to take out my brush, and I'm going to go, oh, not there, I'm going to click on Navy, and I'm going to be able to just color it in like that, and it will be a bit transparent, which is what we're trying to do here for the Navy, and that's how it works. How you want to do your Navy, that's up to you. For example, Rome, they get all of this here, and if you want it to be like Maritime Waters or something, or yeah, Maritime Waters, Maritime something, you could do that as well. Anyway, moving on, we're going to turn Navy off because that's a bit irrelevant. We're going to move into thumbnail outline, and because I do in fact have you know, flooded lands, it's a little bit weird looking, so let me redo this. Actually, I don't think it matters. I'm gonna redo it just so I can show you. So you're gonna add a new layer, obviously. We're gonna put it above lands, and then you are going to use the tool of a magic wand, or you can press S 4 times. Then you're gonna zoom in on one of your borders, and you're going to click the blackest pixel you can find. Although make sure you are on the right layer, go to lands, and then you can select the blackest one that you want. If you're on lands, what the heck? Ah, my tolerance was too high. That's right, you're going to have to make sure your tolerance isn't too high, and you're going to want to make sure that you have global and not contiguous. So yeah, now we're going to copy and paste this and put it into layer 28. If we could figure out how to copy and paste it, hold on. Lands, copy and paste it. Right now it's copy and pasting all these pixels, and we're going to go into, we press Control C for that. Then we're going to go into layer 28, press Control V, and that will all paste in. As you can see, it's off a little bit, and you're just going to want to press M, and then you can slide it back in place. Yours is obviously going to look different because, you know, I have flooded lands, and you're going to want to try and line it up correctly. Once it's lined up correctly, you are going to switch to the, you know, just normal full select. and you're just going to select everything. Then you're going to go up here to the top and you're going to click on effects, go to object, and then click on drop shadow. You're going to have the shadow radius be at 20 and then the distance be at 0. And you're going to click OK and let it do its work. Make sure you're on layer 28 when you do this, by the way. And once you do this, you should be able to zoom in, and yep, it worked. You can see that there's bits and pieces of kind of like shadow on it, and it will cast off to both sides. The reason this is called thumbnail outlines is because I only ever use this for thumbnails, and this looks better than this, right? For thumbnails, it's more like intriguing and eye-catching. But your thumbnail outline will look more like this than this. Anyway, sorry, moving on, we have provinces. This is one of the most, hard things to do, and as you can see, I haven't really updated it too much. I mean, on episode 12, I have that mostly updated. Like, I redid all of Red's provinces, because as you can see, these are very outdated. And you can still see old borders, like right along here. You can see that how it runs across. And you can even still see the area that pink and red jumps green for right here. And this is not Mesopotamia. This is Mesopotamia out this way. So yeah. But what you're going to want to do for this is, grab out your brush and change the size to 2. Then you're going to have alias rendering off, and it's going to be anti-alias rendering. You're going to want to make sure you're doing black, and you are going to just, draw your provinces however you want to. I don't really care how you do it. So, yeah. However, I will be coming back to the province layer at the very end of the video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But on top of provinces is a little thing that I like to do, and this is called regions. What regions does is basically, there's the base provinces, but then there is regions. What that means is, each province, each country has their regions, then their provinces. And the regions are basically just a bunch of provinces inside of, one area. So here, let's look at these regions, and then if we turn on the provinces, we could see these regions are kind of like, they have provinces inside of them. And to do this, you do it the exact same way as you do the provinces. However, you'll have the province layer on while you're doing it, and you'll trace along the provinces that you want to. And once you're done with your region, you're going to turn the province layer off and look at your regions. As you can see, the world's looking pretty nice and also outdated. Like, geez. Anyway, moving on, we're going to have radiation. So this is something I've never used before, and that's because I have no need to use it right now. So radiation is when you have some sort of nuclear war. I'm not leaking anything about how I could or could not have a nuclear war. I'm just telling you about this. So when you're going to, let's say red goes over here to green and drops a nuke. Then, once you're ready for that, you're going to just grab out some sort of color, not in province layer, radiation layer, and once they drop that nuke, you're going to slap down some radiation. And let's say they drop a few more nukes across the country, it will look like this, and you can have it in whatever size you want. So maybe these are tactical nukes, and these tactical nukes will be in size 5. They will do a little bit less, but they'll still be there. And also, you can choose whatever color you want. You could do like blue to show nukes, but I think green is the best because it feels pretty radiation-y. Alright, moving on, we have Plague, which was in this episode, I believe. Plague is pretty simple. So what you're going to do is you're going to do basically the exact same thing as Navy. You're going to have a solid color, and you're going to make sure that Plague is at 127. I find that to be the best, like, opacity level for things that are supposed to be transparent, and you're going to draw over it. What I did was lime means that there's only a little bit of plague in this area. Dark green meant there was a lot of plague, and then this really dark green meant basically everyone had the plague. And honestly, this is a little bit too transparent for me. I'd say 203 is good too. So you could see how each one is basically their own thing, and you can do this however you want. So that's kind of what I did though. Once again, green kind of shows off something like hazardous or bad or like, unsafe. Moving on to, I think one of the most needed things is capital cities. This will pair with the major cities, so let me pull that up too. So, each country has their major cities and their capital cities. Let's go into India for this example. As you can see, major cities, they are size 5 yellow dots, and then their capital city is right over here. And they do, in fact, have a major city under this capital city. So if we were to ever say, I don't know, Bangladesh somehow went into India and attacked them, and they took their capital province area, then, well, their capital will have to move somewhere else. Their original capital is right here. And speaking of over here, basically black kind of means that it's destroyed. That's one of the cool things I decided to do. I like that a lot. And then also another type of thing that is also optional is regional capitals. If you do regions, you would do this if you wanted to. It's just a cool little thing. But this is like a size 8, I think. size 8 or a size 7 thing. And basically, in each region has their own capital, except for the capital region. But basically, that's kind of what it is. It's really cool. All right, but turning all of those layers off, we're going to move into major military bases and base of operation. So every country will have their own major military bases. Obviously, not every country right now. I'm working on that as well. Like, Russia doesn't have any, but in the current map, I did give them some. But every country will have some. Why does this one look so desaturated? Usually, it's a little bit more colorful. Cyan is. Anyway, sorry. As you can see, we can see the old border of maroon. I actually did fix that up because I did not like it at all. But each country will have their own major military bases, and I did its own cool thing called a base of operations, which is basically the capital of military bases. Obviously, Rome has sunk, but they will put it at the most strategic point at some sort of military base in the most strategic point. And some countries have multiple right now. Red has multiple. Originally, they didn't have this many. However, they have taken over some countries recently, like green here, pink here, and then obviously all of these orange descendants countries are taken over. But yeah, that's why they have multiple. Anyway, moving on, I have one of the most cool things of the series. It's trade routes. So here's our trade routes. This is a little bit outdated, but this is basically just the base trade routes between everything and everyone. In the current thing, every single major city has some sort of trade route going through it. And at some point, I was like, I think I want a more simple thing to look at because, once you go over to red, India, and Rome, your eyes kind of hurt. So I added this new thing called international trade routes, and that's basically just a size 10 trade route. Originally it was size 5, but now it's size 10 to show it that better. And if you want, it always goes over, normal trade routes too. And if you were to just want to look at the international trade routes, you could turn off the trade route thing and look at that. An international trade route is basically just an agreement that countries have made to make this one the international trade route, and that is it. It's not like any different from a normal trade route. It's just better to look at. All right, moving on, terrain. This one was really hard, and it's obviously optional. It's just because sometimes I would like to see exactly where some things are. Like number one, the Himalayas. I only knew where they were because of this map. I mean, I knew where they were, but I just didn't know the exact shape. This one was really hard to get. Basically, you have to go into Chrome, download some sort of terrain map that is in the, shape or like map shape of the type of map that you're using. And then you're going to have to copy and paste it in here, stretch it, and bend it into exactly how it can fit. And then after that, you're going to go turn it transparent. I have it at 130. And just like that, you can see where things are. So like right over here, we can see that the Nile's right here, but that's irrelevant because there's other things that you're able to do to see that. But I find this one very helpful sometimes. You can also see latitudes and latitudes and longitudes. Turning that off, we're going to move into alliances. These are in separate things. There's military alliances and economic alliances. Military alliances are yellow shapes. You're going to grab up here in the tools thing, and you're going to find the shapes, and you can find whichever shape you want, any of these. And then you can also probably click fill, and you're going to change the color to yellow and drag over whatever country you want to have that certain military or economic alliance. And then speaking of economic alliances, they are just green kind of things, and it's very useful. It's cool. It's good for wars. That's what you're gonna do for world wars and stuff like that. Alliances are very helpful. Moving on, we also have pacts. I only added this recently because we have a pact, a defensive pact between Rome and Orange, which expires like like episode 13, I think. But anyway, this pact will just be like a kind of shield from Rome into Orange, and that's showing that Rome is defending Orange through a defensive pact. Next up is Nuke count. This is something that will not be introduced for a long time because we're literally in the medieval age. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go over to your tools thing and you're going to click on text. Then let's go to red. And how many nukes do they have? Let me find the right size. You're going to click on a good red color, maybe a little bit of a dark red color. So let's say red has 33 nukes, and they have 32 on their allies' territory. That's not good for them. But basically, this is just an example. So you're going to shove this right next to their capital, and honestly, I might make this green. Yeah, I like that a bit more. So basically, let's say this country has 2,123 nukes. That's a lot. And then they have 21 on their allies' territory. So we are going to show that by placing this right next to their capital. And then you are going to have this number, this base number is just how many nukes they have in total. And then this number in parentheses right here is how many of those nukes are on their allies' territory. If you would like to update that, you're just going to erase it and put it up a little bit more. And they added one more nuke and then they put that on their allies' territory, which I think is a pretty fun thing to do. Alright, moving on is also another work in progress, and it's ethnicity. This is an entire other map. It's very much a work in progress. In fact, it's not even being worked on inside of this thing. Basically, it's not meant to be transparent. It's just transparent so I could, see what's behind it. This is what it's meant to look like. I mean, if you wanted to, you could make it transparent if there's some sort of ethnic cleaning, I don't know. But what you're going to do is you're going to get any color and you're just going to draw however you want to on this blank map, and that will just be the country's ethnicity. And it doesn't have to be specific to a country. They could have a mix of ethnicities and stuff like that. It's really cool and fun to play around with. Another one is an outdated one that I don't use anymore, is a stability map. As you can see, this is very outdated. We don't have anything. Like, look at this, jeez. Red is still yellow, and then also there's actual countries over here. But basically what I did here is dark green means you are very, very stable. You could not be more stable than that. Lime here, that's really good. You're really good, you're chill, you're stable. However, you still could be more stable. Then I believe it went to yellow. Yellow means you're kind of at mid. You're mid stable. Moving on, we have orange. You're like, you're on the downfall. You should probably start working on that. Red is you are very unstable, and if it is dark red, that means you are literally you are collapsing as we speak. Moving on from that, we have the technology map, which is outdated as well. So what I did here was this kind of purplish looking, this bluish color, I think, this light kind of blue. That means that you are, the top type. You're the top. What am I talking about? You are the top technology. Then it's dark blue after that. That's the second. You're like in second kind of. You're like after that. Then there's this normal blue. Then cyan is in the middle. Then there is lime right beneath that. Then it would go dark green, which means very low technology, and then yellow. And yeah, and then it's yellow, which basically means that you have the lowest technology. And this is era based, so obviously they would all be like, dark green if it wasn't era based and it was like modern day based. But since it's not, that is just how it works. It's era based. So for this era, red, Rome, and India are the best. And obviously that has very much so changed because, well, they were flooded and they lost their capitals. All right, moving on from that, we have rivers and lakes. This is one of the most helpful things, and let's look around. Right over here, we have borders that run along rivers, and I do this a lot, actually. It's so good. It makes the borders look so natural. I have that, along the entire Catalonian border, except for, right here and right here. But basically, how you do it is you're going to go into map chart, and then you're going to download a map with rivers and lakes on. Then you're going to put it into here on a layer, and you are going to select rivers and... I can't exactly remember how I did it. You're going to select rivers and lakes, and you are just going to copy and paste that into its own layer, and then you're going to, delete that other extra layer. And now you have all of these, and you're going to have to make sure to orient them into the right spot. And once they're oriented, you can use them however you want to. A few cool tricks I've learned is, number one, you're going to want to make them a little bit less opacity. Their opacity should be a little bit lower. I have it at 140. I find that very ideal. And also, when you want to draw borders and you're very lazy, you can click S 4 times until you're on the magic wand. And you're going to do the same thing as last time. You're going to click on it, make sure the tolerance is good enough. And I believe that should be good enough. 20, no, a little bit higher. There you go. Once it's at that should be a good tolerance. And then once you do that, you can go over to wherever. Let's say we want to draw a country's borders right here. We'll go all the way down to our land's border, and we will just draw in this border right here. And boom, just like that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different borders drawn in just by the click of it, instead of me needing to use this little small pencil to follow along every single pixel here. And then once you want to stop doing that, you're going to just click on any sort of this selects. It could be eclipse, lasso, or rectangle, and you're just going to click without dragging, and that automatically unselects everything. Moving on from that, we have the final layer, ozone. However, don't worry, this is not the final layer, the true final layer, because I still have more stuff to talk about. The ozone is a great layer. In fact, I'm going to redo it really quickly. All right, let's delete that, and let me draw this with you. So, we have our very top layer. We're going to name it ozone. Then we're going to make the tolerance, sorry, not the tolerance, the opacity 140. Once we're ready for that, we're going to select some sort of lime color and fill the entire map just like that. Now, here's the thing. When we want to change this, basically green here, that only means that we have a good ozone in this area. However, let's say a certain area is a little bit worse. We can make it orange. So right over here inside of the Himalayas somehow, we have a bit of a worse ozone. So we're going to color that in orange. However, let's say just recently it became really bad. So we're going to grab our red color and go to recolor. And we're just going to recolor this area into orange. Or I mean into red. You could also probably have yellow in there at some point. Just like this. So we have our oranges. We have our reds. Oh god, orange looks really weird. This is so trippy. Anyway, sorry, we have our oranges, we have our reds, we have our yellows, and we have our greens. But what happens if there is a hole in the ozone? Well, that's simple enough. We'll grab our eraser and we will just erase this area. And boom, just like that, we can see clearly that there is no ozone in this area. What the heck is this country right here doing to literally destroy this big of the ozone? Like, make this big of a hole. Either this could happen when, I don't know, the industrial age will happen, and then all of a sudden, a lot of areas will become further orange. And I think it's a really cool thing to play around with however you want to. So let's get rid of all of these. And we are not done, so don't leave. Another one I want to talk about is, I said provinces earlier. When you are using rivers and lakes, you are also able to trace some of the provinces along these rivers and lakes. So let's find that. Yep, as you can see, these areas of the provinces run along the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. And then right here, they runs across here. Right here kind of runs across it. And it runs across it in a lot more places, like right over here. Another thing I want to talk about that I am currently implementing into the series is POIs. This will be a layer that is paired with the like cities and stuff like that. And the way that I'm implementing it is very, very cool. I think you guys will like it a lot. So we're going to grab blue, and then based off of how popular this POI is how big this circle will be, with 20 being the maximum size, and then 4 being the minimum size. So basically right here, 4, that means that it's a POI, however, it's not so popular. And 20 means like if you walk over to, I don't know, some random country like this little pink one right here, hey, do you know about this 20 size POI? They'll be like, oh heck yeah, I do, of course I do. There's only going to be a few of those ever in the world, and then there can be anything in between that, kind of like, I don't know, 10, that's like a pretty known POI. I'd say like 7, that's like a country-wide known POI. 15 is a pretty famous POI, however, not as famous as this 20-sized one. And then obviously, I think you guys are getting the gist of it. You can have it in any size you want to. I just personally have it in blue, and then anything from size 4 to 20, based off of the popularity, it being bigger if it's more popular, and it being smaller if it's less popular. Alright, that's about it for this episode, and I hope you guys really liked this. Let me know if you guys have any more questions about layers inside of the comment section. Anything else you want me to cover, I can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on anything, and make sure to watch my What If Civilization Started Over series, because it's rolling right now. We're in the medieval era, and it's actually really long era, because so far every episode has been about like 45 minutes long. I'm hoping episode 13 won't be 45 minutes long. I don't think it will, because I only have about an hour of recording of that one. So I'm assuming it will be about 30 minutes long or something like that. But each episode has been very, very good so far, in my opinion, and you should watch every single one of them. I'm not forcing you to, but like, you should. What are you doing? It's like literally peak. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and I hope you guys are able to make your own sort of Wixo, What If Civilization Started Over type of thing, or anything else. And thank you guys so much, and until next time, see ya.